What's happening, folks? Thanks for tuning into the live stream this evening. This is Marshall. I'm going to do a video here this evening on how to sync your external gear and keep it in time with the rest of your Ableton session. So this is something that I have been asked a few times online, via email, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys kind of what I do and how I work around some of these syncing issues that come up frequently when you're working with external gear in Ableton. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. You can also email me if you'd like this other individual did, asking about this. And if you know of a better way as well, please be sure to mention that in the comments. We're all here to learn, etc. So yeah, so let's take a look here. So right now, I've got my TR-09 and TB-03 hooked up, and I do have my Ableton session running. This is actually the song that's playing. So let me just stop it here. So, hey, we've got Robert in the chat room. What's up, Robert? Okay, so what I've done here, this is actually my demo track that I did when I first got the TR-09 and TB-03. I've been kind of working on this, and the syncing did end up becoming an issue for me with the TR-09 and the TB-03. So right here is the TR-09, and what I have here is a single audio instance here, which is where the sound from the TR-09 is coming in, and then I have separate MIDI tracks set up, all on channel 10, but which correlate to, in the clips here, each clip correlates to a different sound. And I'm doing this wrong. So these right here are snares. Crashes are here, so one right there. Kick drum. So, and what I ended up having to do initially is the pattern that I had programmed in the TR-09, for example, what I did is I recorded that all my different sections of the song, and then I, shortened the clips for each section. So if we go to, these are all the kick drum, and it's all pretty much the same. But then, like the clap, for example, if we expand this, you can see here's the rest of the thing that I recorded, and I just have it looping the first two bars because it's a clap. So there's not much variation going on there. Hi-hats, this does change a little bit because as the track intensifies, there's going to be different parts that play. And toms, I'm using some toms here and there. And then I have, this is the trigger out. Now, one thing that I was kind of disappointed about was the trigger out on the TR-09 is how I was syncing the TR-09 to the TB-03 initially when I was doing my live video. And what I was hoping is that by triggering the trigger out through Ableton, it would send that signal here, but it doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong, but what I ended up having to do was in the TB-03 side is record the MIDI for that separately. And I did try and capture some filters and things like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this was a real big pain because trying to get this particular section to sync was a big pain in the ass. Also syncing the TR-09 to keep it in time, especially once you start adding plugins, and I'm not showing you guys this, that's my fault. Once you start adding plugins and processing to your session, you add additional latency to the session itself. So when you have external gear connected, that latency gets longer and longer, and it's basically just the amount of time it takes from the MIDI to get routed out to the synth and then the audio to come back. So there is a certain amount of time that is taken up there. So for whatever reason, for me, it was quite a bit. Now, the first thing that you need to do is go into your Ableton preferences here, and I'll pull this up. And let me get my face out of the way. So in your preferences, go into Link MIDI, and you should see your TR-09 and your TB-03 here connected. And what you want to do is just verify, you know, how much you can kind of adjust the latency on the input side, which is kind of what I tried to do a little bit here. So I have it at minus 84.5 milliseconds. And what I did, you know, you can use your metronome. So let me just solo some of these. So let's just solo, for example. And to solo, you can solo. And then if you hit Control on your keyboard and solo on one of these other ones, it will solo the other thing. So I'm going to solo the kick and the hi-hats, for example. So then if I hit play, and we need a clip that has hi-hats in it, and I'll turn this up. And Robert, I'll go over your question on how you connect multiple devices into Ableton here in just a sec. But so you can see these are playing, I'm playing the hi-hat sequence and the kick drum sequence here. So what you can do is up here is the, that might not be getting sent. That's your metronome. And hold on, let me turn this here. So that, now you should be able to hear that. So you can hear that's in time. Now, sometimes a metronome is a pain in the ass to kind of hear what's going on. So what I like to do is take an actual plugin or an audio sample of a kick, for example. So I have one right here, and I'm using the Kick 2 plugin. I think this is a Sound Academy plugin. It's really freaking awesome. Sonic Academy, sorry. Yeah, so this is, I just have you know, one of the preset 909 wave form selected here, and if I play this and I have to solo that too. That kind of helps give you an idea as well, as opposed to this metronome that is a pain in the ass sometimes. So because the plugin is playing native, well, it's playing through Ableton directly. You know, it's not being routed as an external instrument. It's got extremely low latency, so it's a good idea to kind of sync up to something like that, in my opinion. So we'll turn that off. So that's kind of what I did initially to kind of line things up. So the first thing, again, is in your preferences, you go here. You can kind of adjust your MIDI clock sync delay time. Usually it's going to be a negative direction. And then on top of that, what I ended up having to do, because there's so much latency for some reason, is if you come on the lower right-hand portion of your Ableton session window, you see I'm clicking this, that's the wrong one. It's the one that looks like a D for delay. And when you click that, you'll see this track delay open up. Now you don't want to do this on the audio portion because the audio is, you're just going to end up pushing the audio around, and it won't actually be in time, if that makes sense, for the recorded portion. So when you go to record these sounds, that won't do it. So, but if you do it with the MIDI and then record the audio from the MIDI that's being delayed, that will keep the actual audio waveform tidied up and in time for you. So I had to actually adjust this by negative 328 milliseconds in the track delay. You know, I had played, here, I'll stop this. I had played around with doing, in the preferences here, normally this is enough. Normally just going in here and syncing this up and listening while it's playing and making the adjustments in milliseconds here is enough to keep things in time. But I think that because I have so many different MIDI tracks, in addition, this song already does have some pretty heavy processing going on and several plugins that I think I've just added a shit ton of latency, which is shitty. So, and then with the TB03, what I ended up having to do is kind of while this was playing, come over to my TB03 and manually trigger the start on this. So I actually had this disconnected. Oops, and I'm knocking over my vapor pen. And manually trigger the TB03. And, oops, I hit something. That's because we're soloed. So I'm stopping and I'm starting, and then I would need to kind of get that close and then record it, and also record the MIDI, I should say, over here. And this was kind of a pain in the ass because, again, I can't get the trig out to actually trigger via MIDI from the TR-09 into the TB-03, which kind of is a bummer. But I did get it all lined up. This I didn't have to use as much track delay on the MIDI for some reason. And then in the preferences for the TB-03, I just set it at 0. But I could probably make this adjustment in here if I wanted, because it's not that much. So to answer your question, Robert, about how do you hook up multiple external instruments in Ableton? So what you do is you set up you set up a MIDI track and you drag in an external instrument from the instruments panel. So if you go to instruments, you'll see external instrument. You just drag this into your MIDI clip and it will add this and kind of convert it into an audio/MIDI. So then what you do is you say where it's going to be sending to for MIDI control, and in this case it is the TR-09 and the MIDI channel that you want to have the MIDI information sent to, in this case channel 10, and then you select from your audio interface which, that's weird, I'm not sure why I think that's because I was doing something else at one point. But anyway, you select the channel in your audio interface where the sound's coming from. So if I play the TR-09, see I've got channel 4 coming in. So that's where that's coming in. So you select that. And you just do that for the other one. So then, for example, the TB-03, I have another, actually I have 2 of them because I'm splitting the stereo. I'm splitting it out to stereo, which you don't have to do. You could do this with a single channel and just put that in the middle. But so then you just select what interface you're sending to after you drag your external instrument in here, the channel that you're going to send to, sending to channel 1, and the section or the audio interface channel, in this case channel 3. So that's all you do. So then if you have, like I have a whole bunch of synths, if I wanted to drop in a different synth, I would just come over here. Let me shrink these down so I have a little more workspace. I'll do insert MIDI track, and then I'll drop an external instrument in here. You could also just double click on external instrument, and that will, I think that'll open one up. Maybe not, maybe I'm a liar. But anyway, you could just do that. There it is. So let's look in here and let's see if I want to do, I'm not sure what synths I actually have plugged in through the patch bay right now. But let's say we want to hook up the radius. So we'll do the radius and say channel 1, and then we would pick our interface for that. Let's say it was 910, for example, which I don't know. I don't even think the radius is hooked up right now. So that's it. And then you would program your MIDI, or record it in. If you hit record, it's just not going to play anything because I don't have anything hooked up there. That's all you do. So, and I like to work in clip mode. If you hit tab, this is a arrangement mode, but because I don't have anything recorded in here, it's empty. But you can work like this, like a conventional DAW if you want. I'm not as familiar with this, but it's pretty much the same kind of controls, but in a linear, conventional DAW format. So yeah, Robert, I hope that answers your question there. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit is, so for example, the TB-03, I have a desire to capture some filtering, and the problem that I have is in trying to do this and make the filtering sound natural, I can just draw it in here if I want. And normally this is kind of what I would do is I would just, so CC74 is your filter cutoff on the TB-03. And I would do kind of something like this, and then we play it. Right, and then it'll loop around. Just playing back the control there. But I think what I want to do, because I want to actually be able to, like once you record your MIDI information, unless you're tweaking on the fly, which is kind of hard to do, especially in clip mode, and keep things like the way they should be. What I think I'm going to try to do here right now is create a separate MIDI track just for CC control of the TB-03 and see what happens and see if that works, because then I can, as the clip plays, I can manually adjust my cutoff or the resonance or whatever I want, and kind of make that more natural sounding, I guess. Because I think if you go back in here and you can't really record just your automation. You will end up recording over all of your MIDI data. So what we want to do, I'm going to Control A, and I'm going to delete that. So right now this will be, there is no CC74 control in here anymore, and I'm going to turn my cutoff all the way down over here. So that's all the way down, and I have this unplugged so that won't have any issues. And then I'm going to go back over to Ableton, and actually what we'll do is we'll take this external instrument that we made earlier, and I will connect that to the TB-03, and we'll do channel 2. Actually, no, we don't need to do it that way. We can just come in here and go Insert MIDI Track. Yeah. And then we can use our MIDI controls here. So we just want to send to the TB-03 on channel 2. So we'll select this here. So this is a little different because the external instrument is what gives you the actual audio from the device here and here, and you can add MIDI clips to these if you want. But especially in cases like this where you're controlling multiple sounds from a single device, that's why I have these all split up. And then later on I'll go through and record audio from each one of these one at a time. But in the meantime, I have this single audio interface or external instruments instance set up so I can hear it, but still individual control the sounds through different MIDI tracks. So same kind of thing here, but what we're going to do is just automation for the cutoff of the filter. So I'm going to enable this for recording, and we'll see if this works. So I've got my cutoff filter turned all the way down, and I'm going to hit record, and we'll start tweaking this here. Done. I'm going to stop it there because on this part I want it to pick up kind of right where we left off. Oh, that sounded kind of weird. Oh, I know why. Here's why. So what's happening is, why that sounds all jacked up is because in this particular clip I have already tried to manually draw something in. And because we're sending MIDI information to the same control, the same CC number, 74, for the cutoff filter at the same time, it's trying to do this while I'm doing whatever I recorded over here. So if we go over here and go to CC74, we'll see we have information in here, but it's fighting the information that was already in here. So what we need to do is, and the way to check out your envelopes, again, in case you didn't know, there's a little E down here for envelope. Normally I think that by default is turned off, so you need to turn that on. Make sure the envelope is selected with this little arrow. If you come over here, you'll have only access to the notes. But to see what envelopes are here, click on the arrow. Make sure you have MIDI control selected, and then normally if you do something as a recording, it will put a little red dot here, meaning there's automation there. You select that, and you may have to do some reading in the manual to see what instrument, the way the MIDI implementation breaks down in terms of CCs, to figure out what controls what. So in this case, 74 cutoff filter, we need to actually delete this one. So I usually will select it with Control A, make sure it gets everything, hit delete, that clears that out. Now this one should play without any issue, but we're going to delete this one and do it again. Nope. So that's an issue. So we need to go back here, and now we need to delete that again. Because the last bit on the other one was a higher. Anyway, that's something you run into. So I have this all the way down. There's no CC control. Actually, I need to go back to kind of like here, kind of in the middle maybe. And we'll delete that, and then we'll go again. All right, and so we went just a little bit over, but let's just kind of hear how these two play back. Oh, we need to change. What's going on here? Did I pick the wrong TV? Yeah, there we go. Channel 2. There it goes. And see here, we missed a little bit at the beginning, so I'll just kind of do something like that. So, and I want this to kind of be a little bit more of a smooth transition. So how do we, maybe what we do is, I'm going to delete that. There we go. Oh, look, that made a nice pretty line. And then we can just move this. Can we move it? Come on. Maybe I can extend this a little bit so I come in here and delete. Yeah, there we go. So now we can kind of control where this stops because it needs to stop at 9 and we want it to slope back down. Something kind of like that. And then let's try it. Here's something else I noticed. We need to get this to match our track delay, which is -6. Yeah, I think that's sounding okay. So again, this one has some automation, so we'll delete that, and we'll record some new automation in here. So yeah, I made a mistake here. So when you're selecting your MIDI 2, make sure you pick it from, I guess, the top section of interfaces here. That's the TR09. TB. Oh, I got it. Okay. And then make sure you select the correct channel here. Because what I had done is initially I'd come down here and picked it from here. Like from here. And I don't know what the hell's going on there, but that doesn't work. So there, and that works. So channel 2. And then we'll enable our recording and we'll do it again. Hit record, Marshall. There you go. So we need to do. Does this not have? Not sure why Control A is not working on this one. Maybe. Fuck it. It's the same thing anyway, so I'm just going to delete that and duplicate it. Oh, wait a sec. So this one has it all the way up. All right. And this is kind of weird. I'm not sure why that cut that off so much. So, yeah, I mean, that's working, which is good. So there's that. It's just going to take a little bit of fine tuning here, but this is kind of the next track I'll be working on for the next few sessions. So I will be doing some updates on that. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them for you. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you don't like it, then, there's a button for that too. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you watching. Robert, thanks for joining the live. I do these late at night on Sundays. That's just the best time for me to do these for whatever reason. It's just the way scheduling works out for this. So if you're in the U.S., I apologize. But for anyone, where it's a good time for you, please join the live and join the conversation. So anyway, have a good night, guys. Goodbye.